In 1998, the four largest tobacco companies in America faced a reckoning. They agreed to pay over $200 billion, not from goodwill, but because their decades of deception had finally caught up with them. They had hidden the truth about their products' devastation on the human body. Yet, the most astonishing aspect of this tale lies not in the settlement itself nor the lies, but in the fact that tobacco had shaped human civilization for over 12,000 years before anyone dared to question its dangers. To grasp how we arrived at this moment, we must journey way back. In the high desert of what we now call Utah, archaeologists unearthed a remarkable find at a site known as the Wishbone Site. There, among the ashes of an ancient fireplace dating back roughly 12,300 years, lay seeds of wild desert tobacco. This discovery reveals tobacco as one of humanity's oldest cultivated plants. Long before farming, cities, or written language, the people of the Americas were drawn to this plant. For these early indigenous peoples, tobacco was not merely a product for smoking as we understand it today. It was a sacred plant, a vital link between the physical and spiritual realms. In the Andes of Peru and Ecuador, shamans engaged in rituals with tobacco that stretched back at least 5,000 years. They believed that the smoke carried prayers to the heavens, healed illnesses, and connected the living with their ancestors. Then, around 8,000 years ago, a significant shift occurred. People transitioned from simply gathering wild tobacco to actively cultivating it. They began to plant and selectively breed the plant for desirable traits. Scientists observed this shift through changes in seed size, leaf structure, and nicotine content within the archaeological record. This marked one of the earliest instances of deliberate agriculture in the Americas, and remarkably, the crop they chose was not corn or squash, it was tobacco. The Mayan civilization elevated tobacco use around the year 470. Across present-day Mexico, Honduras, Belize, Guatemala, and El Salvador, the Maya developed intricate smoking ceremonies. Carved reliefs in Mayan temples depict priests using smoking tubes in their religious rites. At least two of their gods were depicted as smokers. To the Maya, tobacco was not only a ritual tool but also a source of medicinal properties, believed to cure toothaches, snake bites, and even clear the lungs. As the Maya migrated northward into the Mississippi Valley, they carried their tobacco practices with them. Within a few centuries, smoking had spread to tribes as far north as Hudson Bay. The Algonquian peoples regarded tobacco as a gift from the Great Spirit, while the Iroquois told tales of its origins, claiming it first grew from the head of Attahensik after she perished giving birth to her twins. Across the continent, from South America to Canada, tobacco became interwoven into the spiritual and social lives of indigenous cultures. Then in 1492, everything changed. When Christopher Columbus and his crew arrived in the Caribbean, the native Taino people greeted them with an array of gifts: fruit, food, spears, and bundles of dried brown leaves. Columbus, unsure of their value, reportedly discarded them. However, some of his crew observed the Taino rolling the leaves into tubes and lighting them, inhaling the smoke. Two crew members, Rodrigo de Jerez and Luis de Torres, tried it themselves in Cuba. Rodrigo became so enamored with smoking that upon returning to Spain, he was met with fear. Locals thought he was possessed by. 7 years later, he emerged to find that smoking had captured the hearts of many across Spain. The Spanish were the first Europeans to see tobacco's commercial potential, quickly establishing cultivation operations in the Caribbean. But it was a French diplomat who would inadvertently solidify tobacco's legacy. Jean Nicot, the French ambassador to Portugal, obtained tobacco seeds in 1560 and sent them to the French court, promoting the plant as a miraculous cure for various ailments. His fervor was so infectious that the plant was named Nicotiana after him, along with nicotine, the compound that would ensnare billions. Within decades of Columbus's encounter, tobacco spread across the globe, perhaps more rapidly than any other agricultural product in history. Portuguese sailors planted it at trading outposts worldwide. By the mid-1500s, tobacco was being grown commercially in Brazil, becoming a sought-after commodity in European and American ports. By the end of the 1500s, it had reached nearly every. Tobacco's reach extended to Africa, carried by French traders to the west and Portuguese merchants to the east. It found its way to the Ottoman Empire, where it became immensely popular despite attempts by sultans to ban it. It spread to China, where by the 1600s officials were struggling to contain its use. Tobacco infiltrated Japan, India, and Southeast Asia within the span of a single human lifetime. The plant crossed borders, cultures, and religions without regard. It made its presence. Not everyone welcomed tobacco. King James I of England published a notorious essay in 1604 denouncing smoking as a barbarous custom, describing it as foul to the senses and harmful to the body. Yet in 1607, a group of English settlers landed in Virginia, indifferent to his criticisms as the lure of profit beckoned. The Jamestown colony was initially a failure. Founded by the Virginia Company of London, it struggled as disease, starvation, and conflict with the Powhatan Confederacy decimated over 80% of settlers from 1607 to 1610. Desperate survivors attempted various exports from glass blowing to silk. Nothing brought success until John Rolfe arrived. Shipwrecked in Bermuda for nearly a year, he came to Virginia in May 1610. A passionate smoker, he recognized the demand for quality tobacco in Europe. However, the native Virginia tobacco, Nicotiana rustica, was harsh and bitter. The sought-after variety came from the Spanish colonies, closely guarded. In a stroke of fortune, Rolfe acquired seeds of Nicotiana tabacum, likely from Trinidad or Venezuela. He planted them in Jamestown soil in 1612, and the results were extraordinary. The Virginia climate and rich soil produced a smooth, sweet tobacco that quickly gained popularity in England. Rolfe single-handedly revitalized Jamestown. By 1617, the colony exported 20,000 pounds of tobacco to England, and by 1627, that number skyrocketed to 500,000 pounds. The value of tobacco soared in Virginia, leading colonists to plant it in the streets and cemeteries, using it as currency. They could pay taxes or even purchase a wife with it. The Virginia Company offered land grants to anyone willing to cultivate the crop, drawing an influx of settlers. Yet, tobacco farming bore a dark secret. It was labor-intensive, demanding constant care throughout the year and depleting soil nutrients with planters constantly sought new land, encroaching on indigenous territories and new workers to meet the relentless demand. Initially, Virginia relied on indentured servants, poor souls trading years of freedom for passage across the Atlantic. However, the supply was never stable. In 1619, the arrival of a ship carrying roughly 20 enslaved Africans marked a turning point. Planters found tobacco not only built the economy of colonial Virginia, but also created the demand for a system of chattel slavery that would scar America for generations. By the American Revolution, Virginia stood as the wealthiest and most populous of the 13 colonies. Its riches derived from tobacco cultivated by enslaved people. The influence of tobacco extended far beyond the South, establishing critical revenue streams through taxes in England and fueling the transatlantic slave trade in Africa. In Asia, tobacco's spread was rapid, despite early warnings from figures like the Chinese philosopher Fang Yizhai. As the 1600s unfolded, the pattern of ignoring tobacco's dangers was already firmly established. For the next 2 centuries, tobacco remained a luxury, consumed through pipes, chewing, or snuff. Cigars became a symbol of wealth and status, intricately woven into the fabric of society.